So what if we want to connect the points, right? So earlier when we plotted some data values, we saw that it was just points that were just listed for us. I think I have it here. Control D to exit. And then my data value, when we plotted it, we have the key there. So I just use display to show that to you. Key RI like this. So displaying this graph here give us this. No, actually this is a different one. But then well, we saw showing you this graph, but then there were no points here. What if you want some points and we want different colors for each graph? You see that there are different points here as well. You could also achieve that. Right. So let's look at how to go about that. I do ls. Okay. So let's go back to our Gnuplot and then Control L. If I do plot sin x, I just want to check whether the configurations are there. Oops, everything is undone. Have you seen? So it means that after closing each interactive session, your canvas, every configuration, everything you have done goes back to the default. So you should keep that in mind. Okay. So now to set some points or plot some graph. So let's see, we said that to plot some data points, you have to make sure that we have the values there. So if I say plot, the same thing, but this time around, you give it a name. Since it's a name of a file, I call it my data.dat, right? Now, if I hit enter, we could see that where is my graph? Okay. You could see that they are just points, some plus here. They are just points that were plotted, right? What if I want to connect this plot with some lines, right? Okay. So to do that, we said you can configure the line type by just using the line type command, or you use LT and then 7. 7 becomes the particular type of line you want to use. There are different ranges of the line types. And then to configure the line color, as you saw in a graph earlier, you can use the line color command or LC, and then you append the number you want. Then if you want line points or lines, you want to connect them, then you just add width line points or LP, or you do width lines, right? So you can just do line type this, line color this, width line points, or width just lines, right? So basically that is that. But then if you want to see the possible values that this line type can take or line color can take, then you can just run tests. So let's see. If I do tests here, we see that this nice interface comes here, and then hopefully, and then this here on this right side of the graph or the image is the possible values of each line type and line color, right? So you see each line type, line color, each line type, line color, each line type, line color. So if you have -1 here, they will all be black without any point or type. 1 1, the same color with a plus, 2 2, and all those things. So you can think around with this and then get your desired configurations that you want. Okay. So now we could decide that, okay, let's plot the same graph, sin x, right? So plot sin x, and then we set a title to what? Title to graph of sin x. Sign. Okay. And then line type, maybe 7. And then line color, 12, like this. When we hit enter and we check the value, okay, I'm coming. Sometimes this really gets distorted. You just have to find your, so let me set my X range. So set X range to -10 to 10. Set Y range to -2 to 2. And I replot. Sorry. Hopefully it should come back normal. Okay, so this is it. Sometimes if you just smooth or scroll to the sideways, your graph gets distorted. Okay, so this is it. You see that now the color changes, right? The color changes and then the type of font also changes. So you can just come here and play around with this configuration. If so, let's change the line type to maybe 17 and then the color to 18, I guess. Now we see that now it changes to something like green or something. Okay, so basically that is how you do that. You may not see this one because sign is supposed to be very continuous, so you won't really see the difference, right? So you could decide to do the same thing for multiple plots, set different colors for it. So you can tinker around with these colors and then have your desired color or a preferred color for any of them, right? So you set this and that. Okay. So now let's look at this. Now I want to plot a personal data. I'll include a link to get this data so you can just follow along here. So I want to plot this data using multiple columns, right? So if I cut, let me exit and then I show you something. If I cut the my data file, you see that this data just has what? One column, right? An X and Y value column. Okay. But then if I do ls, I think I have another one. If I cut the final ri data file, this file has multiple columns, 3 columns. So you can have this as your X, this column as your Y, and this column as a different feature. So you can decide to plot this against this or plot this against this, right? Okay. So let's look at that quickly. To plot that, all you have to do is just do plot my data, the name of the file, and then you said using column 1 and column 2, right? So column 1 and column 2, give it a title, maybe kinetic energy versus time or something, right? And then you set your line type, your line color, and then your line width. So this determines the thickness of the line. And then with what line points, if you're interested. So let's see. So I want to do that. So let me clear. First, let me do Control L to clear, and then Gnuplot to invoke my interactive plot. As always, Control L to clear. And then now I can say plot my data. Bear in mind that you should always ensure that the file you're interested in is in the current directory in which you invoke the Gnuplot, right? Plot my data using column 1, 2. You always have to bring the using command, right? And then you set the title to be maybe kinetic energy versus time or something. Time is always supposed to be the x-axis, but it doesn't matter what you put on your legend. All you have to know is that you know which one is your x-axis. So you can configure your x label, y label like that. So line type 18 with line color 19, sorry. And then line width, the thickness of the line to be 3, and with the line point. But then let's end it here and see what happens when we plot this graph. So here we see that now it changes, right? the thickness changes, right? But then here we see that it's still the points. So if we add with lines, right, we would see this. We see that it's just a line that has been used to demonstrate this graph, right? Just a line. But then what if I change it to line points? Line points. Points. I see. It's line. What's going on here? I think I'm not spelling it well. It's line points. Really? Okay, so let's do it LP. For some reason I'm not spelling it well. So here you see that now you have the line points here. You can see a little tick or blue something here, right? And then here even you see the legend here changed, right? Okay. Control L to clear the screen. So basically that's lines points actually, sorry. That's the, so you can replot and say lines points. Okay, so that was it. I didn't bring the S for the lines point. And then we have the same thing too. But as you see, if you think the spelling will worry you, just use the shortcuts. Most of the time I use the shortcuts, so there. Okay. So basically that's that. And then you can also decide to plot multiple values. So you can choose to plot from the same file. Sorry, I should change this to key, but then doesn't matter. You have using column 1 to, you set your title, you set your configuration, then comma. Then you can choose to repeat the file name, or you just bring an empty quote here, which represents that use the same file name, right? The data file name. And then say using column 1, 3, then set your title and your line configuration. So let's look at that quickly. So here I can do this. So I said plot. Now give ry this, no, not this one. Final. So if you have the file, you can use the tab to auto-complete the name of the file. And then data using what? Column 1 to set the title to maybe kinetic energy. Sorry. Nope. It's gone. I see. So plot final using what? Column 1 to, and then set the title to be, let's say, kinetic energy. Energy in maybe RY, Ryback, right? And then you do line type 18. Let's go with the same thing. Line color 19. Line width 3. Maybe width line points LP, right? So this we know that will give us the graph we've already seen some time ago. This one here. But then this was from a different file. Keep that in mind. Then this time I want to include a second graph on the same plane, right? So here I bring a comma. So I could decide to repeat the same file name, final this, and then give the next configuration, right? So using, this time I'll use a different column 1, 3, then set the title to be kinetic energy or energy in EV, electron volts. And then I have line type, maybe 19, line color, maybe 20, with line width 3 or 2, 4, and then width what? So width, you can also bring W to represent the width, just lines, okay, L. So now you see that there are two different graphs here, one with line points, another with just a line. And then you see the colors also changed. The title has been set. So basically this is it. You can either do this or, sorry, let me clear the screen. The things are becoming cumbersome. Or here, when you get to the file name, you remove the file name and just bring an empty quote like this. Sorry. Assemble. Control L. Bring this one here. So there shouldn't be a space, it should just be an empty quote, right? Empty, like quote, unquote, actually. So this will give you the same thing here, right? So either you repeat the file name, or after the comma, you just bring a quotation, you quote unquote without putting anything, not even a space, right? And then you set the next configuration, choosing your other columns and then this, right? So basically, this is how you plot multiple data on the same plane. You could go ahead and now configure the axis, even decide to put the X and Y axis in the middle as we did some time ago. So basically that's that. So you can think around it and do certain configuration. Now the question is, you saw that anytime we exit our graph, we lose the graph and then we lose the configurations, we lose the settings. What if you want to save your graphs or your images that you've plotted, right? What do? You can decide to use the set terminal PNG size to configure the image size that you want. And then when you're done, you set your output file and you replot, right? But then one could also decide to use the output window that comes here. You click on this export tab or icon. When you click on it, then it says copy to clipboard, where you can just paste using Control V somewhere else. Or you can print, you can export to PDF, you can export to SVG, or you export to image. This is one way of saving your file, right? But then another way is just saying set terminal PNG size. And then you can use any dimension at all you want, maybe 1080 by what? 720 or something. Anything. Now it tells you that your terminal type is not PNG. Then you set what? The file name. So output to be what? So kinetic energy dot png, kinetic graph dot png, like this. Then now when you replot, so all you have to do is just replot, right? So that now it saves this file on the graph for you. So you see that for the Control L. Let me see. For the Control L, and then I have to exit. Sorry. Do Control D to exit. If I do LS, now you see that our kinetic graph here .png has been saved here. So if we like, we can use the image magic to view it. So type display and then kinetic energy graph, and then here we go. This is our graph nicely here for us, right? The graph we just plotted and saved, right, with the legends and everything there. And then we just Control C to exit image magic. If you don't have image magic on your machine, you can do sudo apt install image magic like this, and then you input your password. If you have it, it will tell you that it's already installed. If you don't have it, it will ask you to type Y to install it. And then once you're done installing it, you can just type display on your terminal and then the image name, and then to display. Oh, so this is quite a very long video, but then I hope that now you can easily customize your graphs into any form at all that you want and save the outputs as you desire. In the next video, we would look at how to put all of these commands into a GNU script where we just run the script instead of typing the command every time. We saw that when we reset the terminal or when we get out of Gnuplot, all our configurations gets removed. So in the next video, we'll look at how to put all of these commands together in a file so we can keep running this file over and over again and just keep changing the output names to get our desired graphs in a desired PNG format or any image format that we want. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends so they could also learn from this video as well. And we can't wait, as always, to see you in the next one. Thank you.